Hi there, I'm Scott Klumb.
And I'm Msumba, and we welcome you to.
Stars Connect, and we want to welcome our guests.
Hi, guys.
What's
Hi.
up, everyone? How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Could you both please introduce yourselves? Let's start with Britini.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Britini D'Angelo. I am 26 years old, living in Buffalo, New York. And full-time, I am a full-time content creator / sixth grade English teacher by day, content creator by night, or during the day. Sometimes it happens simultaneously now. But no, I love teaching. I've been in the teaching profession now for 4 years. And I just love spreading positivity, and we love dancing here. And then obviously autism acceptance is a huge part of my platform, and being able to be a Flutie Fellow has definitely been one of the coolest parts about it. So it's been super awesome, and I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome.
We're excited to have you.
Yes. Kaelynn.
I'm Kaelynn. I feel like most people might know me from Love on the Spectrum. Sorry. I am an ABA therapist. I work at Project Hope, which is a nonprofit serving people across the lifespan, because we recognize that autism doesn't just magically go away when people become adults. So that's something I'm really passionate about. I am also a content creator. In addition to working as a therapist full-time, I am a public speaker. I speak at conferences and universities, professional development days kind of around the country. And sometimes when I have time, I train my dog. I used to do that a whole lot more, but now I do that less, and I kind of feel bad about it. I think that's pretty much it.
Your knowledge on dogs is absolutely insane.
First of all,
I don't think if anyone has not seen a video of Kaelynn like running off dog names and like dog types, but it's absolutely impressive. Like I
Thank you.
couldn't do that with the letters of the alphabet. So like the fact that you can do that with dogs, I'm so impressed.
I love that you love dogs, too.
and
You're-
what kind of dog do you have? Both Jennifer and I have dogs. Do you, Britini?
I do indeed. I have two.
Okay, well, what breed does everyone have?
I have a black lab,
Name?
Finnegan.
Oh, I love dog names.
Oh, that's adorable. I have two. I have a blue Merrill Golden Doodle. His name is Toby. And then I have a Lhasa Aso. His name is Bandit.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I have a miniature Australian Shepherd named after Tupac Shakur, and his name is Tupac Barkor.
Scott, that's so on brand for you. I love that.
And I have we think she's a cockadoodle. I got her as a rescue, and her name is Lemonade.
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 Yes.
Lemonade.
I'm pretty sure Seaquig has to make a song about Lemonade the dog.
Yeah, there needs to be like a remix about
Yeah.
Lemonade.
And I also think that Lemonade needs to be featured in the music video for that remix as well. I just
And
think that it just the connection needs to happen.
Okay, guys. Well, we are so happy to have you here. We have some things we thought we would talk about. We all kind of mentioned it's fun fact that you all might not know as guests. All four of us have been on a reality TV show. So we thought we might have a little talk about what it's like to be autistic and on a reality TV show and what your experience was.
It was a lot of things combined. I think people look at it and they think it's glamorous. And I would use a lot of words to describe it. Glamorous, I don't think would be one of them. I would say that it was very labor intensive. It was a lot of work. It was difficult. It was fun. It was exciting. It was entertaining. It was new. It was a lot of things. I think it required a lot of patience, I think, on my part. Because we did like 8 hours of filming each day, and it was exhausting. Like we took a lunch break, but I was very tired at the end of those days.
So my experience on Big Brother was very interesting. Kind of in the same regard as Kaelynn, but a little bit different only because we were filmed 24 hours a day. So there was like no time to be off. Like you always had to be on. So it was definitely an adjustment period. But I think the biggest factor for me that played a role in how interesting my experience was the fact that I could not contact family or friends or anyone. The only people I could contact was the 16 people in the house with me, and then that dwindled every week, and then production, and that was really it. And so going into the show, I basically had talked to production and the producers, and we figured out different accommodations for me that could work, because for me, subvocalization is a really huge part of how I live my life. So the DR was a really great place for me to have that subvocalization area where I could just go in there, I could spit out all my thoughts and be like, okay, these two people were here. Because if I were to sit in a room and do that, you would think that I'm nuts. But if I do it in the DR where I'm in the comfort of myself, like, you're not going to think I'm nuts. Production was like, oh, this is how she's piecing it together. She just has to say it. And so I would take my time in the DR before they would interview me to subvocalize everything that I saw in the day. And then they would interview me on the actual questions. And sometimes it was interesting. My interview questions would come from that subvocalization. They were like, oh, so what did you just think of? And I'm like, well, they've been spending a lot of time together. Put A and B together, I think they're in an alliance. Like, so it was awesome though, but production could not have been more accommodating to me and could not have been more helpful in that regard. I had a lot of checkups in the DR, just making sure I was accustomed to everything and just making sure that I was talking to somebody in a space where I felt 100% trust with somebody with production, just because
What is a DR?
The DR is the diary room. So it's where we go to like talk about a competition, or like we talk about a competition after the competition has already happened. So we have to like replay it. And it's where we can like give our deep, dark secrets as to what's going on in the show.
So it's like a confessional.
Basically. It's like a giant confessional. But no, so I had a really positive experience. I think I was evicted at the perfect time because I was mentally spent. And being on the block for so many weeks, like being up for eviction for 4 out of the 6 weeks I was in the house, it can do a lot. Even though I was the pawn, I knew I wasn't going home, but I was ready to get to jury. And then when I went to the jury house, it was even better there. And so, I mean, very positive experience. Just a lot of learning curves thrown at you at all times.
I agree that it's not like you see on the actual show. I was on a show called The Employables, and it was a lot. Like Kaelynn was saying, it was a lot. Like, or it was extra filming. Or if you say something funny and the camera's not rolling, they're like, "Oh, say that again on camera." And I'm like,
they're like, "Oh, can you say it again, but like this?" And I'm like,
"Yeah, it's
sure."
like I'm autistic. Like it's gonna come when it comes, and it's like I can't repeat that stuff. Like you guys can't. But in the end, I agree with like Britini said. They were very accommodating. Like they did their homework as far as what accommodations I might need, and so my experience was positive.
I was on a show called Returning the Favor with Mike Rowe. Basically, it's a company that goes around to different businesses that are for good causes, and Mike Rowe surprises them and donates money to them. And we were with this autism company in Denver called TACT, which teaches autism community trades and teaches kids how to get good employment. And at first, I was just hired to be part of the film crew and capture the event, but then all of a sudden they wanted me to be in the episode, so they had me do an interview with Mike Rowe while I had all my camera stuff, and that was really cool.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
If you had one favorite part of being on reality TV, or what was your favorite part of the show that you were a part of?
I think just seeing how it all worked. Like I just had never had an experience of being around a film crew before. So like you just don't realize all that goes into it. Cause like when you were saying like where they say like, oh, that was funny. Like, can you say that again? Like I just never thought, like you just don't think of that thing.
Yeah.
Like until you experience it, you really don't know what it's like. So I think just learning about the importance of lighting and just all that goes into it, it looks so easy, but it's really not.
Right.
I don't know if your guys' shows did this, but I know for us, like if an airplane was flying over, they'd be like, hold for the airplane.
Yeah.
Holding. Okay, go.
Yeah.
Okay, mine's twofold. So the first, and probably my favorite part of my entire season was the fact that our season made history and we crowned the first Black winner of Big Brother ever in the US. That was huge. And our season just had so many historical points of just like everything that happened, the diversity on the cast. It was the first time that CBS enacted their 50% diversity rule. There's just so much so many barriers were broken on our season. And I feel like that for me was a culmination of everything that we saw in the house. And then I have to say the comp that I won was also a very high point. All I wanted to do was win a comp. I just wanted to win one so that I could come home and be like, I didn't lose everything. And so the comp that I won was really cool. It took 2.5 hours for us to film and it was 6 rounds. And I ended up winning it at the end and it was a physical athletic competition. So awesome. It was super fun. That obviously is a highlight just because of how it played out. It played out just like a movie. and it was captured in the same way too on screen too. So that was really cool to watch.
Now I need to go watch your whole season because I'm curious.
Jennifer, you're gonna laugh at me so hard.
I'm going back.
You're gonna laugh at me every time I start crying, which is every episode.
You're gonna laugh at my favorite part of filming, and that was that they would buy my favorite treats. Like they're like, "What do you want? You can have anything you want." I'm like, "Anything?" They're like, "Yeah, pretty much." So I'm like, "I want the Alatos ice cream bars." Like I was so specific. I wanted the coconut ones. I was living it up. They would get us like coffee, like fresh coffee in the morning, and my favorite part. Go figure.
Jennifer, I also requested things on my show as well. I requested Ben and Jerry's non-dairy ice cream. Every single week the grocery list would come and I'd be like, Ben and Jerry's is not in this fridge.
They literally had a lady that was her job to go get us like treats, and like I was like, oh, I could get used to this.
We didn't get snacks on mine.
What?
They didn't pay us.
We gotta make a call to Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah,
we gotta make a call.
You can't work under those
Kaelynn needs specific food options. She needs everything catered. Like, get her the treatment she deserves, people.
I was just gonna say my favorite part was honestly seeing how the end product turned out, because a lot of the times editors can edit things to make someone look like a bad guy, whatever. It's just like they can twist the story so much to tell what they want to tell, but they made me look good. It was very positive, and I was kind of nervous leading up to that, but I was thrilled about the end product, and that made it a positive experience for me.
I agree. I liked my end product. It seemed like we all kind of had a mostly good experience, which is good to know these days, because I think like if this was back a decade, I think a lot has progressed in the past like 10 years about how people with autism are treated, and it's just going to keep getting better. Well, I wanted to ask you about thriving as an autistic adult, what that means to you and how you reached that point in your life.
Oh, good question, Jennifer. Good way to ask it too. I can start, I guess. I would say to me, thriving as an autistic adult means being able to be confident in who you are and being able to be confident in yourself and the abilities that you possess. Thriving as an autistic adult has meant being an advocate for myself and being my strongest advocate, because no one's going to go to bat harder for you than you will. But also, my village is still a very crucial part of me being an autistic adult, me having the support of my family and my friends and people who get me, and being able to have them in my corner always and know that I have 100% trust in so many people. It really has made my journey as an autistic adult so much better. And just being able to communicate the things that I need and being able to use the strategies that I've utilized throughout my therapies growing up, and just being able to do things my way and be able to fail as well. I think that's really important, like being able to fail and learn from the failures and then grow from those and make it a positive experience for yourself. If we ever stop learning in this world, what are we doing? So I feel like for me, that's something that's been really huge and something that I've carried with me as well throughout Autism Acceptance Month, is just learning. And continuing to learn and continuing to grow as much as I possibly can.
I think for me, thriving has meant, especially in the last few years, doing things that are hard, doing them scared, even though you feel scared to just kind of do them anyways. I have been kind of joking recently that I say that I identify as a cockroach because nothing kills me. I can't die. Lots of things have maybe theoretically tried to kill me, and it hasn't killed me yet,
That's incredible.
I think for like us autistic people, we a lot of times, feel the need to prioritize our comfort and to prioritize, doing things that are familiar. And I have been working personally on just challenging that perspective for myself, and that nothing really is accomplished when you stay in your comfort zone. And so even though I feel most comfortable with a predictable routine, in order to thrive and in order to grow, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable for a little while in order to achieve those long-term gains.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I hate change, but if you aren't open to change, you're just not going to grow. And I feel like I've known a lot of autistics, including myself back in the day, where I was in mental health treatment, I was in all these things, and it's just like I wasn't growing, I was just stuck. But in the last 4 years, really since the pandemic, I've been more open to living independently, getting jobs, and just wanting to grow. And now I work for a company called Biddy and Bose. I'm a barista there and been loving it, and also just working on my film work. And I got married in the fall, so life is
Yeah,
good.
you did, Scott.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
right there. Kind of
Love
see
it.
it.
I've actually had to kind of fight to grow. I like my routine, but I will. Oh, I always. I don't know. I see something online like a competition or something. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And everyone that's around me that's there to help me is like, oh, I don't know. It's gonna be kind of a lot. It's a long day. I'm like, I'll be fine. And even if I'm not fine, like just let me mess up. Just
Yeah.
give me the space to mess up and then learn and then get stronger from it. Like when you break a bone, like it's gonna heal, and then it's got like extra boniness to it. It's just let me
I was
mess
waiting to
up.
see where you ended that sentence, Jennifer.
I
I
knew
was
where
waiting.
that was going.
That was actually my doctor's exact language, I'm pretty sure. The
Yeah, that's
boniness.
Jennifer Msumba, MD.
Yeah.
MD, so yeah, that's just for me. It's been a little different where I want to grow, but I've been held back a lot, and only because people care. But I'm just fighting other people to let me do the crazy things. So, but they're starting to learn. I'm training them that Jen can do it. Jen can handle it. So, that's my experience.
I think the change too is a really important part. Like my mother always says to anyone that ever talks to her about me, she's like, "Yep, I keep Britini real," and that's exactly how we do it. Like, I am so thankful for the changes that we are allowed to have because I think that there was a universe. I mean, I would even say a decade ago where change for us was it was so pushed against, almost like the change was not embraced. Like if I wanted to change as a person, like that was like, whoa, like what are you doing here? Like why are we changing things? And like it was almost frowned upon. And I feel like in the last decade, it's really come around to, oh, change can be good. Like you can embrace this change. I mean, I even say that in reality TV as well. I know for a fact 10 years ago, I would not have been cast on Big Brother. I know that for a fact. They would not have even looked at me. They would not have even looked at my video. Now 10 years later, that change has been enacted, and now look at where we all are. You know what I mean? Like there's so many, we have a long way to go. Let me tell you, long way to go, but we're finally starting to have that representation that we need. So I think that change can be a beautiful thing, but it's been something that the community has had to fight for as a whole.
Yeah. I think we've all been fighting for that in our own way, publicly and privately,
Yep. Change for me back in the day, the slightest change would throw off my schedule for the whole day or days. And now it's just like it can throw me off for a moment, but then it's like, okay, I can get through this, just take a deep breath and I can adjust. And it feels good to get to that point. And I hope more parents in the future, more autism parents in the future are open to not sheltering their kids so much and letting them grow from this.
Yeah, Kaelynn, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Which part?
Well, I know you work as an ABA therapist, and
also thank you for the work you do in that department.
Yes,
just saying, thank you.
Yes. What do you see, and how, like, because you must teach kids how to deal with change, but then also for yourself, you probably had to, teach yourself things. So I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
I think the biggest part for me that has been the most helpful is having choices and having a little bit of control over it, because it used to be, like 5 years ago, working as a therapist, I would show up to do a session and they'd say, oh, well, so-and-so is actually sick today and they're not here, so you're going to have to go find something else to do. And so you're just left standing there like, well, I was ready to see so-and-so and I just didn't know what to do with myself. So that resulted in sometimes crying or just, being really upset about the abrupt change in schedule. And kind of since then, I have been able to develop some other options of things I can work on when, things at work especially do not go as planned. And I've been able to transfer that skill to a lot of the clients that I work with as well. That it's okay that change is going to happen. Stuff is going to get canceled. Things are going to get moved around. You're going to be asked to do things that you probably don't want to do. And that's okay. That's just part of life. But having choices, even if they seem small, can kind of return that feeling of control.
Yeah.
So I was working with a kid the other day who, hey, guess what? We got to go to art class. Well, she did not want to go to art class. But there's different ways we could run to art class. We could skip to art class. We ended up listening to music. We watched a music video as we walked into art class, and we picked a chairs where we could sit next to each other and finish the music video. And so, there's changes happen in our schedule, but having a choice kind of returns that feeling of control and helps people stay calm and kind of choose their responses a little bit more carefully.
That is beautifully said. I love that.
As an autistic adult, have you ever been infantilized? And if so, how did you deal with it? Or do you know anyone that's dealt with that?
Oh.
Well, I gotta think about
do you have one?
I gotta think about this one real quick. This is gonna sound really interesting. Can you give a different word instead of infantilized? Because with that word, I'm unsure. But can we give a synonym?
Let's say, have you ever been treated
like a child,
or
under your level? Yeah. Sorry, Scott.
So almost like discriminated against, but not discriminated against.
Like you're treated, yeah.
Like where they treat you kind of like a baby, or like talk
like a baby, treat you like a child,
then the example that I was going to use was not applicable. Okay, I'm glad that I asked the question.
I feel like in my adulthood, for many years, I was treated in a way that people didn't believe I could do certain things. They treated me as if I couldn't ever live on my own, get a job, have a chance at life. It's just like that sort of thing.
I mean, I can talk. I mean, I guess my biggest example would be that even growing up, so I started really talking about my autism diagnosis when I was 16, because that was when I really started to understand what my diagnosis was and what it meant to me. And so when I started telling close friends of mine, I actually lost friendships. And it only happened, I can count on one hand how many times it happened, but I actually lost friends because they thought that I was like the help after I told them. And they thought that like I needed assistance, or they like started looking at me differently. And I was like, I just told you, you've known me for like years. And I just told you one part of me that I thought I could trust you with. And then I ended up losing you as a friend because of it. So I would say that's probably a really big thing for me, but also like the thinking that I can't do something. It's my favorite thing in the world is when people think I can't do something and then I do it and I'm like, haha. Thought, friend.
Look at you in these marathons these days.
I'm not a runner. I've never claimed to be a runner. I just do it for the pretty medals. They're actually all behind me. They're right there. I really just do it for those. I hate running, if I'm being completely honest with you, but I really like doing it in Disney World because it's magical. And it's not the streets. The streets are not magical. Those just suck. No, you know what? I love breaking boundaries, but I feel like so often we are, what's the word I'm going to use here? Like the people try and undermine our abilities and undermine what we can do and our abilities and how we do things. And I just say, prove them wrong. But I have in my adult life, I would say that's probably the biggest one that I've dealt with.
I don't know. I've got a lot of little examples. Nothing crazy. I think like I travel with a support person a lot of times when I like go to speaking engagements or even when I go to doctor's appointments. And people will a lot of times ask the support person instead of asking me a question. They'll be like, oh, does Kaelynn want to whatever? And I'm standing right there.
And you're like, no, I can answer. Like, trust me, I got it.
That's been frustrating. Or like in professional settings, people will say, oh, how old are you? And I'll be like, I'm 26. And like, it's rude to return the question, which means it's also rude for you to ask the question. Right. So like, maybe you shouldn't be asking. If it's rude for me to return the question, you shouldn't be asking the question.
I unfortunately have dealt with this a lot to this day. Not just like what you said about your support person. Oh my gosh, I'll go to the doctor. And I got to the point, even though I like them being in there so they can remember what the heck happened, because I don't process it like,
Same.
But the doctor will ask them, oh, does she have headaches? And I'm like,
I'm right here.
Yeah, how are they supposed to? And they'll tell them, I don't know, ask her. And they'll keep telling the doctor, talk to her. She's perfectly capable of answering. And they really don't want to talk to me. They just can't wrap their brain around it. And then I still get underestimated a lot just when people meet me, I'll go to the restaurant and the waitress will be like, "Oh, hi, do you did it?" Like she changes her whole
Oh,
way
I've gotten
she
that too.
talks to me after I like start talking. Maybe my cadence is different or because of the tone of my voice. But like I'm a whole. Can I say ass, Amanda? Can I say I'm a whole ass adult.
I love Jennifer.
I'm an adult, like so. But yeah, that would be my experience.
I have to just share this is a funny Jennifer moment. We were at Epcot and Jennifer brings her like little mini microphone. We were doing like a it was like the Doug Flutie kickoff for marathon weekend. We all did like a performance thing there. And then we went to Epcot the next day and Jennifer goes, yeah, so like we're gonna do like mini mic questions. And then Kaelynn, I will DM you this video because the way that I got ratted on in that video and absolutely served by Jennifer Msumba was something I will never forget.
That's amazing.
It was all with love and fun.
No, it was all in fun. Like I was the tour guide for the day and she goes, I would give your tour guiding skills a 5 out of 10. I'm so appreciative that we got on every ride, but the marching, the forced marches, the following lines, she's like, I can't do with it, Britini.
You've got to love the literal and just like honesty of autistic people.
Oh, it was so honest. And then there was one point Jennifer's like, I'm taking back my interview because Britini wants camera time.
I love the fact that I'm honest, and I how do you feel about like masking? I didn't even think of this. It just came to me now. Like, okay. So I've been taking back my autism in the fact that because I would always be masking. A conversation is like, oh my gosh, this conversation, like, get me out of here. And then I used to just stay there and just couldn't, and then now I literally be like, okay, I'm done with this conversation and walk away because that's literally what my mind wants me to do and what I want to say, and now I'm letting myself do that. What do you guys think about masking, unmasking, letting your honesty shine?
Masking's it's an interesting concept because I don't think anyone wants to mask. Like no one wants to do it, but we are put in situations where we feel like we have to. And I think for me, one of the biggest places where I feel like I have to mask is like if I go to like a Big Brother event or like a big event that goes on for like 6-7 hours, the masking will start to kick in because number one, you're exhausted. Like these events all happen at night. So like the event ends at 1 a.m. and I'm just dead tired. Right. So the masking gets exhausting by like hour 3, but like it's not like I have to mask because I'm just having a conversation with you, but there's just like a certain way you gotta like hold yourself and you want to make sure that like you're interacting with everybody, but like also interacting with everybody in a room when there's 300 people in a room, like you got a lot of conversations to go have. So it's kind of coming in, it's a whole thing. But masking is a very interesting topic because we shouldn't have to do it, but I understand why we do, and I understand why I do in certain situations.
Yeah.
It's just there's like no right way to mask or unmask, and I feel like for each person it differs. I have been unmasking way more in my regular life as of recent, but I've been forcing myself to unmask, and I've been doing it because I've been feeling, especially like teaching, I've been forcing myself to unmask way more with my kids, and it's just helped my teaching get better. And I felt like I had to mask at first when I took this position, and I was like, no, you don't. Like, just be Britini and be done. And now I've unmasked and I'm like, oh, like this is so much easier. Like, why did I start doing it in the first place? But you do it in the first place because you feel like you have to, and you feel like you have a certain standard that you have to uphold, or like a certain guideline. I don't know, like the certain preconceived notions in our head of what we think or what we don't think. But it's interesting. Kaelynn, I'm interested to hear your point on this as well.
I don't know. Part of it is that like I don't resonate with a lot of what other autistic people say about their experience masking, and I think that maybe that might be due to my privilege of being diagnosed as a child. You know, I was certainly late diagnosed in terms of, you know, the average age of autism diagnosis, which at this point I want to say is 4 for little boys. I was 10 when I was diagnosed back in 2007. And so I wouldn't say that I've never had to mask, because there are certainly times when I am more focused on my facial expression and my body language and making sure that that more closely aligns with what is expected rather than what might feel natural.
Yep.
But I have just, in the last few years, in terms of being a content creator, I've obtained so much footage of myself where when I've asked people to record me, or when people have just spontaneously recorded me, or where I've recorded myself. And those will be instances where I think I'm doing a good job at masking. And then I go back and I look at the footage and I'm like, oh my God, you were like I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm being so polite. No one knows I'm upset right now. My dude, you are hiding under a blanket. You are not looking like you are being so polite right now. Like, I might be trying my hardest not to say something rude, and that's just how it comes out. But like, it doesn't look how I think it looks. And so it's two things. It's like, one, I feel like I don't have the same experience as other autistic adults because I maybe haven't been forced into situations where I've had to mask very heavily. And two, when I do mask, I don't think I'm very good at it. I like to think that I'm very good at it, but then when I go back and see footage of myself, I'm like, ew, I think people could still tell.
I think I've been masking most of my life because I wasn't diagnosed till I was 24. And so I was constantly trying to fit in with people, and I was bullied from elementary school through my junior year of high school. And it's like, I just wanted to fit in. And then I faced lots of depression. I was in and out of, I think I was in rock bottom for nearly a decade. I was in psych hospitals, all these things. But anyways, these days where my masking comes in, or used to, was when I worked at like another place like Sprouts or a grocery store as a cashier. And I was forced to give eye contact. I hate eye contact. That eye contact is actually painful for me. And I think these days I get to unmask a lot more because, one, like I said, I work at Biddy and Bose and they let me just be myself, so I can just, like, if I don't give a customer eye contact, it's perfectly fine. They hire people with cognitive and invisible disabilities. I think the only person I can really give true eye contact and it's not masking is my wife because of my trust for her. But the other situations for me that are a struggle is like similar to the Big Brother events, is when I have movie premieres or I'm at film festivals, all the people wanting to shake my hands. I hate shaking hands, and just having to put yourself through that sort of scenario where you're trying to fit in with everyone, but the people around you, even though they know you're autistic, it's as if they forget you're autistic and you're just put in an awkward situation. But
there's also a lot of things that go on at those events too. And like, you don't know what's going to happen the second you walk in the door. I mean, everything changes the second you walk in though. So like, talk about trying to handle change and then also trying to handle yourself at the same time. It can be quite a conundrum sometimes, but no, I like I said, I've been very thankful. Like, obviously we go to these events with people that we know, so we're not obviously alone. But no, it's so interesting. Jennifer.
Okay, so I was also diagnosed as an adult, but as a kid, I was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder, and they were they were testing me like every week, and they just couldn't put a finger on it because it was back in a time where that wouldn't be like something they would consider right off the bat. So, but I masked heavily as a kid. I remember specifically, I would scientifically study the other girls, and then I'd go home and I'd like write down. I say, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna walk like this. Like, I planned the heck out of every way I was gonna appear because I was trying so hard to fit in. And as we got older every year, I got more and more obviously like behind in things. And like Scott, I ended up in, as by high school, severe depression. I was alone. I didn't have any friends. Like, I didn't even have, I had bullies when I was a kid. I didn't even have bullies in high school. Like, I was like, I didn't exist, which actually felt worse to me. Like I was like, I was literally invisible, and I was just depressed, and I ended up in hospitals and misunderstood diagnosis, but coming out of it, and it took me years, but now I can mask, but I usually don't because it's really hard on me. It tires me out rapidly.
Exhausting.
Yeah, and my favorite new thing to do unmasked is to just leave a Zoom call without saying anything. Like if I
Without an
really,
explanation?
yeah, I just hit leave because when I'm
You're
done,
done.
I'm done, and I just hit
That's so
leave.
savage.
You should program your Zoom to when you exit, it shows font on the screen that says "I'm done."
I'm done. Yeah, it's my new thing, and but it's like because I'll be on a Zoom call and I'm masking so hard, and I'm like, get me out of here! I can't take another, can't take it. And now one day I just clicked leave, and I was like, I felt so powerful. I was like, wait, I can just leave. I can just leave.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like that's my story. But I was diagnosed like I think it was 15 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been in placement since I was 15 years old.
Okay, because it's so entertaining to me. I have a lot of friends who have been diagnosed later in life, and hearing from them has been so interesting to me because I was diagnosed so young. Like I was diagnosed 22 months old. Back in 1999, wasn't even 2000. Jesus.
Wow.
Gonna date myself. But it's been so interesting. Like even my friend Kaelynn, who I was on Big Brother with, he called me 10 days after his diagnosis and was like, Britt, I was just diagnosed. And he was diagnosed at age 30, 31. And being able to talk with him about like everything he's realized, and he's like, oh, I did this because of this reason, or oh, I did this because of this. It's so interesting to me. And like, I don't get those aha moments because this is the only world that I've ever lived in. You know what I mean? Like I was in Britney world for so long, and then we finally got me out of Britney world. And now we're in a whole different Britney world, which I can't tell you where I am on a different day, but regardless, we're here somehow. But like, it's so interesting for me to hear like the actualizations or the realizations that are made by those who are diagnosed later. It's fascinating to me because I can't make those connections. It's because this is the only world I've ever known.
Well, what's interesting to me is I've heard people tell me like, "Oh, you're so lucky to get diagnosed later in life." Like, and then I've had others say, "Well, I wish I was diagnosed sooner so I could have gotten the help I needed." But it's like,
yeah, I think with everything in the autism community right now, you can argue both sides, and people will. And everybody will never be on the same side with anything. Like we could tell everyone, oh my God, we're all going to wear gold. And everyone's like, wearing gold. I hate gold. Gold's my least favorite color. And I'm like, it's okay, guys. Like we don't got to agree on everything. We just got to come together on what matters.
And I can see either side of it. Like it's just like getting diagnosed young, you might be held back a little bit. Getting diagnosed later, you're figuring out your life and you could have had this support early on. I think for me, because I was diagnosed late, I didn't know. So I played varsity sports in high school. I wasn't taught that I was like this. I wasn't taught this idea that I'm uncoordinated. I can't do this. It's just like, and there's pros and cons to everything, as you said.
I wish I was diagnosed earlier. Well, it was so glaringly obvious when I was a kid. I think back to it, like I couldn't even run right. Well, I remember we used to have to do like presidential fitness. Now I'm dating myself. It was like this fitness test that every kid had to take. So like it was a big deal, and the gym teacher wants everyone to do well, and we had to do the 50-yard dash, and I like literally couldn't get my legs to coordinate to like run, and I'd always be the last one to finish. And I remember literally trying to run, and like I just would say my legs won't listen to me, and like just different things that were so glaringly obvious. I would just run out of assemblies and hide in the coat racks, like under the coats, and they like couldn't get me out of there because the noise. But I couldn't express that. I couldn't even understand that. So I really do wish I was diagnosed earlier because I thought my self-esteem was very low, and that caused me more problems. But now I feel much better about myself. So thanks for listening.
We got you, Jen. We got you.
Let's talk about meltdowns. How's that look for you as an adult now versus your childhood?
Ooh.
Oh.
I think it's worse in adulthood. because life gets harder. Stuff doesn't get easier. Like, I feel like there's like, you've got your level of ability and then you've got the demands of your life, and it just gets higher and higher, and this kind of stays the same a lot of times. I don't know. Life was easy when I was a kid. You know, your mom makes dinner, your mom goes to the grocery store, she takes care of all the stuff around the house, and you know, you just got to worry about doing your laundry and getting yourself to school on time, and that's really it. That's all you got to do. And then you move out and you're like, oh my God, you got to go to the grocery store and you got to plan meals and you got to be responsible for so many things. And if you can't, sucks, because it still needs to get done. Yeah. And so for me, I feel like it's gotten worse in the sense that like the intensity has changed, the frequency has changed, because life gets harder.
Are you willing to say what a meltdown looks like for you as an adult?
Yeah, it's usually just a lot of crying, a lot of, you know, negative statements, negative patterns of thought, a lot of times being unable to continue on with whatever the task is that I was trying to do, occasionally throwing things. You know, worst case scenario, I get punched in the head by myself. That's not a good time. That doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, you know, everybody around you kind of freaks out.
Yeah. Understood. Understand that. How about you, Brittany?
I feel like for me, my meltdowns went from an outward meltdown as a child to now an inward meltdown as an adult, which I would argue is worse. Because trying to keep the meltdown inside your body is even harder than letting the meltdown out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so for me, my meltdowns, if and when they come, are mostly a lot of perseveration of the same thought, like, did I do something wrong? And then my anxiety gets really, really high. And then that just goes in a spiral. And the same kind of thing of like, it really distracts me from whatever I'm doing in that time. And if I don't speak it out loud, like if I don't communicate to somebody, that could be myself in the mirror, that could be another human being, that it just gets worse. So for me, the way that I deal with it is just being able to talk to somebody as soon as possible so that I can have somebody else be my soundboard, because Lord knows I'm not going to be it for that situation, and I won't be. So having someone else listen as my soundboard to give me another perspective of maybe what I'm not seeing in this scenario, or just reassure me that I'm not nuts. Like that's always really helpful too in a meltdown. But no, I would say just the transition between like outward to inward. It has been, I would say, the thing that I recognize most about myself as an adult.
That's interesting that it like all moved inward.
Yeah.
That does sound harder to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an outward.
It's harder. It's harder to like, which is interesting because I'm also a martial artist, right? So I also like kick and punch bags for a living.
Yeah.
But, like, which is very outward, but like no, in terms of meltdowns, it's very in my own body.
And then it just feels like it's stuck there.
Until I speak it, yes.
Yeah.
What if you don't have, like, have you encountered situations where you don't have somebody to talk to, or you maybe do have somebody to talk to, but they don't want to talk to you?
Yeah, those have happened. My mirror is a really great friend of mine. Just like, which I don't know how you discover answers of yourself in a mirror. But sometimes miracles do happen. But no, if I don't have someone else who is around, I'm very thankful that I would say in 98% of cases I do have at least someone that I can call and talk things through with, just because no one wants me to persevere on anything. Doesn't do any good for me or anybody around me, and I know that about myself. But I feel like in those circumstances I just try and distract myself as much as possible, like with something else that I can do, whether that's like going to my room and dancing, or like putting on some headphones, listening to some music that I really, really enjoy, or just singing. Like doing something to distract me is also a way of bringing myself down from the meltdown, which also would come like after I talk to somebody, I would do something that I enjoy, brings me down from the meltdown, and then I can cope. But also mostly meltdowns for me happen late at night. So sleeping's also a really great option. Like when you're tired and you're at your last wits of the day and you're like, you know what, just bed's a really great option. Like
tap out.
Tap out, sleep. Jennifer on the Zoom call. Bye. Like just being able to have that, like just a reset is really nice in that regard.
I will sometimes hit myself. I will throw things, break things. Oh gosh, I've done a lot of things. Sometimes there's been times where I live in a placement still. They have their own vehicles where they use to take us places, and like I'll get in one of those. It's Florida in the middle of the summer, and I'll get in there and just like lay down on the floor where it's so hot, and I don't know why, but it's just that's my way of like restarting. I call it cooking myself, which is terrible to say, but like
Does it help you?
yeah, it just I don't know. It just feels really good to me, like the tightest of warmest of blankets or something. But you know, it's then they've talked to me like, Jen, that's really dangerous because you can like get really sick and stuff. So I still do a lot of things that are probably not very safe for me when I do meltdown. But I have support people around me still, so I'm working on that, and I'm hoping to get better and more independent.
So, Jennifer, the interesting part of what you just said is that you said that you don't know you're in a meltdown until it's over. I would compare my meltdowns to an allergic reaction where, like, I'm allergic to gluten and dairy, and I can feel when it's coming. And then when I feel it, I'm like, get in the mode because it's coming right now. And that's so interesting that you feel it after. Like there's no warning, it just hits you. But for me, at least most of the time for me, I get a warning from my body being like, error, something's not right here. And then I go into it.
Yeah.
That's different for
Interesting.
yeah.
Look at this conversation we're having.
I really like it. I'm learning a lot. How about you, Scott?
I can be both mostly outward, but sometimes inward.
I love how this is the vocabulary we're using now.
I know. We're starting a new lingo.
I cannot unsee the belly button image.
No, I can't either.
My belly button changes depending on the meltdown. That's how I know. But I used to have a lot more meltdowns years ago, and it would result in yelling, screaming, hitting walls. I mean, I even used to struggle with self-harm. I haven't done that in many years. Now I think because they happen less frequently, they actually seem more intense than ever, because before they were a weekly thing and I'm just like, I can deal with this, but now it's just when they happen once every so often, they feel more intense than ever and they're harder to work with. I've hit walls. I've left holes in walls accidentally. I pull my hair, hit myself, scream, yell. I mean, things come out of my mouth that I wish would never come out of my mouth. And with my therapist, I created a sheet that we call my self-regulation sheet. So when I recognize I'm having a meltdown, or when my wife recognizes I'm having a meltdown, we go to this sheet and it has a list like weighted blanket, fidget toys, sour candy, even ice cubes for me help. That's like a DBT skill, and that helps me with any sort of physical physical harm. And I think one thing that really gets to me, the worst feeling, is when people are telling me I'm having a meltdown and I'm not having a meltdown. It's like I can't really control my tone of voice as an autistic person. It starts to raise. It just starts to raise, and like people will think I'm too firm or raising my voice at them, and they're just like, you're having a meltdown. I'm like, I am not having a meltdown. And then when people keep telling me I'm having a meltdown or I'm angry, well, guess what? I'm going to get angry that you're telling me I'm angry, or I'm going to have a meltdown because you're telling me I'm having a meltdown. And it's just, those are the worst ones for me right now, when people are labeling something for me that isn't happening.
Has everybody in this chat experienced being told they're feeling an emotion when they're actually not feeling that emotion?
Yes.
By somebody else?
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know.
I have been told on more occasions than one, oh, like, why are you feeling like this? And I'm like, I'm not feeling like this. And they're like, but you're totally feeling like this. I'm like, no, like I'm no, like I'm really good. And they're like, but no, you really feel like this. And I'm like, no, I swear to God, I'm not. Like,
Right.
I really promise you I'm okay. But I feel like that has happened to me. And Scott, you just kind of reminded me in my mind of that. But I was just wondering if anyone else has dealt with that, because I definitely have.
Mine's my face, because my face has like a certain way of being, like when I'm just normal Jen, and people always used to think that I was mad all the time. They're like, why are you mad? Why you always look so mad? And like my mom on FaceTime, she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, no, this is just my face. I'm fine. She's like, tell me what's wrong. And I'm like, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm like, I mean, I know with my mom, it's like, I give her much grace because that's my mom, and she only doing it because she cares and loves me and wants me to be okay. But do you remember on episode 2 of Love on the Spectrum when Tanner asked how his eyebrows were? Like, I identified with that because I'm not sure why he exactly asked that, but in my mind, like, I'm mindful of my eyebrows and like my mouth and what all the parts of my face are doing at the same time to make sure that I'm portraying my inside feelings to people.
Wow, interesting conversations. I'm so intrigued.
No, I like this.
It's a round table.
All right.
I promise I won't leave.
All right.
Jen goes, I'm sorry, guys. I have to leave now, even though I'm the host. Bye.
Adios.
Scott, you're on your own.
All right. It's all me. All right. Favorite sensory and worst sensory.
Oh.
Can I have 2 worst ones?
Yes.
You can have 2.
Yes.
Okay, loud sounds. I mean, just kind of in general. I don't know that I have a specific sound that I hate in particular. Well, I take that back. Now I have 3. Really loud, like loud music, like at a concert, like that kind of loud sounds, or fireworks, like something crazy like that, or like chewing or licking noises. Hate that a lot. Bad smells, like trash smells, feet smells, broccoli smells, vegetable smells.
I hate Brussels sprouts.
Cat smells.
You hate Brussels sprouts?
No,
Don't
the
hate
smell
on
of them.
Oh
Oh my
yeah,
God, they're
Wow.
so good.
they taste so good, but they smell so bad.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Depends on how you make them. You got to make them right.
Yeah, you gotta cook them with sweet potatoes, and then you have to roast them with bacon in the
Wow.
oven, and then they get like a little bit burnt, like brown, and then
Jennifer, you need to be on Master Chef now.
Kaelynn, what's your favorite one?
yeah,
Like favorite one of like all time, or like favorite one just daily?
both. You got choices, Kaelynn. You
Got
can
a choice.
choose what you want.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like roller coasters, but not like the crazy ones that like turn your intestines inside out. Just the
Sure.
ones that kind of give you like a little ride. You know, I don't like the drops. I don't mind the upside down, but I don't like the drops. But I do like the speed. I like wings. I like, I don't know, the occasional shaking of the objects. You know, I'll shake a pen or shake I don't know, whatever I can grab usually.
Okay, I'll start with my favorite one. My favorite as of a daily one is my hair. It's become a real, I don't even realize I'm doing it, but I feel like that's become a sensory of mine that I enjoy, just like twirling it. And then I would also say clothing of like fabrics is a sensory that I really like. Like I find myself in stores being like, oh, this feels so nice. And I'm just like a very fabric person. What I do not like, nails on a chalkboard can make me just go, awful. And then loud, like sirens. Siren noises are like that high pitched ringing that just like don't even gotta be loud. It can just exist in that like high pitch of a ring. Hate it with my being. Oh, and like stress balls. I really love sensory like stress balls. Like just any like the ones also with like the beads that like come out of it, like the ones that are in the nets and and they like come out when like you squeeze it. Those are great too.
Oh, they're so good.
I've broken 3 of them, but let's not talk about that.
I have sensory issues to noise, but like fluorescent lights, I can hear the buzzing. Power lines, I can hear the high pitches. And at my work right now, it's the blenders.
Oh God, yeah.
I hate that. I do like music though. Like I'll just dance to that and jam out. Certain consistencies of food I hate. Like, I like the taste of certain fruits, but I hate the consistency of it. I hate handshakes and hugs, but I'm open to them sometimes.
Wait, I gave you a hug before.
I know.
I know, Scott gave me a hug too.
Yeah, you've
I was so
earned my
thankful.
trust. Yeah.
Aww.
So, pretty mind-blowing at my movie premieres. I literally will just premiere an autism film about myself, and then people will be like, "Can I shake your hand?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
I just spent Halloween telling you that I don't like this.
I literally just had a whole scene talking about my sensory issue to touch. And you want to shake my hand. I love hot showers. That's a good one.
I just have a few that I'll say. My favorite is gummy bears, like chewy candies. Oh, I love chewy candies. I like eat them and I rock back and forth and I just shake my head and I'm like, I'm just in heaven. And I love swinging, like swinging, swaying, rocking. I have a swing outside. I'll just go forever. And those are probably like my favorite sensories. For things I don't like, I agree with you, Brittany, on sirens. Also, motorcycles, like souped up motorcycles and cars, and then they hit it on purpose. They're like, and I yell. I always yell, "You're too loud!" It just comes out of my mouth. I'm glad they can't hear me because I don't want to fight a motorcyclist. And also, styrofoam. Like taking it
That's
out
a good one. That's your worst one. That's a good one to be a worst one.
And my last one is condiments. Mayonnaise is the worst, but like also mustard and ketchup. But I will eat it if you sneak it in my food. So if I don't see it, I'll eat it. But like if I see any of it, then I can't eat that food. And that's the end.
So the statistic is like 85% of autistic people are unemployed or underemployed. And for myself, I was unemployed for a long time. Then I found a job and I lost hope. It's just like, what kind of work experience has worked for you and what has not? And what would you tell people?
So I've worked at four different places. So I live in Niagara Falls. So I live right by the Maid of the Mist boat ride. So I used to work in the gift shop there. That was a horrible fit. Just like the constant hours and not really having a choice, that choice aspect on schedule was really a lot at 16 of like, it was my first job ever. And being able to go by the schedule that they put out there and I couldn't choose my hours and I would give them days off, but it was like, oh, I hope we can give you them off. And I was like, no, but I will not be here. Like I will be on vacation. So like not having as much flexibility, left that job, started working at my university's admissions department. That was much better of a fit. Much less sensory overload because at the store we were getting like 2,000 people every 20 minutes. And also the smells factor was also a big thing because they just came off a wet boat. And so being able to work at the admissions department, I had more flexibility in the hours. That was a much better fit. I feel like for me in employment, having more of I understand what I'm getting into. I know my set hours. I know what I need to do when I'm at work that day. That's been able to really help me, especially in teaching too. I mean, it's very nice that I have the same schedule every single day. I get my breaks at the same time every single day. My kids go to their special area classes every single day. So it's nice to like know how my day's going to look before going into work. Where like, when I was working in retail, I also worked in Under Armour. I didn't really know what my day would look like. It was nice. It was different at Under Armour because I always knew what I could be doing. So I knew the list of things that I could have on the table. But with Maid of the Mist, you had no clue what you were doing every day. Like we knew we were going to organize the store, but what that meant every day, depending on who came in the store, was different. But no, I would say just having choice in employment is really a big thing. And just like knowing as much as you can before taking a position, as well as when you're in the position itself, helps.
I have been working, I don't know if you're familiar with vocational rehab.
Mm-hmm. I'm worth it.
Yeah, I have been working with our state's vocational rehab program. Project Hope has a contract to help train their employees because they've had a really low rate of success just in general as an organization, and specifically they've had a really low rate of success of employment with autistic people. So we have been training their staff for the last 4 months, and we won't be done till May. And we're training all the staff in the state on what autism is and what autism looks like and things they should consider for, prospective employment opportunities for autistic people. And it's been good in the sense that we can provide them realistic information. It comes from an autistic person. And I go down there with my colleague who is also a phenomenal neurotypical therapist. And so, the information we're giving them is good and I feel good about that. But then sometimes they tell us stories about, how they're dealing with trying to get people accommodations. And they don't think the people that they're working with, they don't think that they should have accommodations. I'm like, you're supposed to be on their side. You're supposed to be advocating for them to have accommodations. You're not supposed to be the one saying, oh, they don't need headphones. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. And so it's been good and it's been frustrating at the same time, just to see, you know, I live in this nice little bubble at Project Hope where everybody is neurodiversity affirming and everybody knows what autism is for the most part, and everybody, you know, gives accommodations freely, and it's just normal here. But then you step outside of that little bubble and you are reminded of what the rest of the world thinks and does and believes. Yeah. And it can be really, really frustrating and scary to send the clients that you care about into the world that you know exists just outside of here. I don't know what the solution is. I mean, job training is great and it helps a lot of people, but there are also a large segment of the autistic population who job training is just not realistic. Yeah. And not everybody can work in the traditional sense.
But also it's unfortunate too on your regard, Kaelynn, that like it's also the battle of like, do they care? Right. Like at the same, like that's the other battle that you're fighting, is not the can you make these accommodations, but do you care to make these accommodations, and do you care to take that next step? That's the unfortunate part, because right now I feel like it's a battle of education. It's a battle of that want to make that change. Like if you don't want to make that change, you're not going to. But it's just an overall, like it's almost like this barrier that you're continuing to have to fight to kind of break down. But then you go to the next place and that barrier's still up. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's frustrating because it shouldn't be how it is, because if that barrier is up, then you don't understand who we are and or what these people can bring to your workplace and or the type of employment that they can offer you. So I thank you for the work that you're doing, because you are doing God's work. And these organizations, like realistically speaking, they shouldn't even need you to come in and tell them how to treat an autistic person. They should know. They should know.
We always open it by who can define autism. No one has tried, and when they do, they've got some of the craziest answers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But just thank you for the work that you're doing, because it's so insanely important to open up those, or to drop those barriers in terms of just allowing people in the autism community to be hired.
And it's amazing to have an autistic voice representing this too.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that one really throws them off. They're not used to that.
I'll just say real quick, because my employment history is very short. When I was 19, they decided I'd work at the grocery store because you're autistic, or well, I wasn't diagnosed yet, but you're in a placement. You're gonna work at the grocery store, and I was a bagger. And the second day, the manager told me to clean up the leaves that had blown in the door. It was like Thanksgiving, and I literally took him literally. He said pick up the leaves on the floor. I'm picking them up by hand, in front of everybody. I'm picking up leaves off the floor, and then someone was like, "What are you doing? Get the broom." And I just felt so mortified. I left. I never came back to that job, and I never had another job in the community. And now I work for myself, with my music, and I'm getting placements and TV and stuff. So working on my own pace on the things that I love. Shout out to jazzhandsmusicplace.org, because they got me some placements. But yeah, that's what I do now, and I really love it. So that's my employment history story.
My first job, my dad's a dentist, or was a dentist. So my first job, I made the clay models out of mouth impressions. That was really fun.
Okay.
And then I was a ski instructor. I was an adaptive ski instructor for Vail and taught the paralyzed and war veterans how to sit ski. I was also a golf caddy. I worked for the Ritz-Carlton as valet. This was all before I knew I was autistic. Then I hit rock bottom, depression for over a decade, didn't work. I did some film work and stuff. But then it was really hard for me to find employment and regain that confidence. I landed myself with DVR in Colorado and had a couple jobs that just went downhill really fast, and then I couldn't trust the system. I'm a filmmaker. I own my own production company now. I do a lot of freelance work and documentary work. So I have that creative side of me that I absolutely love, and I still get to keep doing.
He's really, really good at it.
He's very good.
We've been so glad to talk to Britini and Kaelynn. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much to the Flutie Foundation for bringing us all together. And we have a calling guest, and his name is Jonathan Gardner. Let's talk to him.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hello. I'm Jonathan Gardner. I'm part of the Flutie Foundation. I am the official ambassador for Operation House Call, which teaches up and coming medical students how to treat people with disabilities.
Wow.
I love that.
Wait a minute. I almost said Flutie Foundation again. Let me see. I am a co-chair for the Support Decision Making Coalition. And
in Massachusetts.
And
Wow.
am I forgetting anything?
Yeah, you're a board member.
Oh yeah, I'm a board member for Mass Advocates for Children.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, overachiever. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mostly advocate at a state level for people's individual rights when it comes to disabilities mostly, but if it comes to it, I'll help out anyone, really. That's really my goal at the end of the day, just to help people just live their lives to the fullest, honestly. Like, all that stuff. Currently, I'm working on a couple of bills, such as support decision making, which is an alternative to guardianship. So let's hope that one gets passed.
And the police training
and a
bill.
police training one, and
Very
healthcare
important.
discrimination.
Yeah, healthcare discrimination and hospital training.
And hospital training. As well.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, you're like doing all the things I wish
my
would
gosh,
happen
do I
better.
need to move to Massachusetts because all this is getting passed now? Like,
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
do I need to move?
That's all the things like
Wow.
that have affected me in my life. Guardianships have affected me. Discrimination in
Yeah.
the healthcare and hospital system. I've dealt with police before. Thankfully, I'm okay. And
Yeah.
just all the things that you do, like it literally means so much. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I'm just one of many people that are doing this stuff. Just the one.
And he's humble.
And he's humble.
So, Jonathan, how are you thriving in your life these days? What are you up to?
Well, besides all of that stuff, I've been mostly just trying to enjoy life, honestly. Like, after the long story of my life, which I don't think we would have time for my full story, but let's just say I've been through.
Sum it up.
Basically, start off with school trauma, which I was abused by multiple teachers in school, which led me to being homeschooled. Then I mentored a couple of kids through the Arc of Massachusetts. Then I got cancer. Then I beat cancer. Now I'm advocating. Story of my life in a nutshell.
Wow.
What, Jonathan?
That's
Gosh. Jonathan, how old are you?
I'm currently 21.
Wow, that's incredible. What part of Boston, or not Boston, what part of Massachusetts? Are you near Boston, around the area?
We're near Boston, honestly, which was a thankful thing because so I could go to Mass General for my treatments.
Yeah, the best treatment
So
there.
you
Yeah.
literally got the best hospital in the entire country. That's fantastic. Firstly, just congratulations. Like, you have battled more in life in your 21 years than most people battle in their entire lifetimes.
Yep.
And you are still smiling. You are still thriving. And you are being yourself unapologetically. So for that reason alone, let alone other things in this category, congratulations. And just know that you're awesome. Like, this is incredible.
You're amazing.
Now, you should have never had to go through the traumas you did, ever. Like, that's unacceptable. As an educator, that makes me very upset that you had to deal with those things, because that's a golden rule that we sign up for as teachers, is you don't put your hands on students. You just don't do it. It's a part of our policy. So the fact that you had to deal with that really breaks my heart, but I'm so glad that you turned that adversity into something so positive in the way that you now advocate for people. Because sometimes tough cards are what we are dealt. It's what you do with those cards that makes the difference.
Absolutely.
So just know that from me. I mean, I think it's absolutely incredible what you've been able to do through the things that you've been dealt. So just know that we are all here to support you 100%.
Thank you.
I'm a fan, and I'd love to meet you when I come back to Boston. Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Do you love Nintendo? Because I see all your and
I
I love
see the Kirby. I see some anime in the back of your wall.
Yeah. I'm mostly I did like Minecraft for a good while, but I mostly like story-driven games nowadays, like the Final Fantasies, the Dragon
Zelda.
Quests, and Zelda, yes, and
Zelda's a favorite of mine right now.
yeah, like I try to get. I'm mostly into the classic Zeldas like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker style ones. I tried Breath of the Wild, but
Ocarina of Time.
yeah,
No,
Ocarina
I
of
did Tears
Time.
of the. Oh my god, I'm a Tears of the Kingdom girly. I love it way too much.
Yeah,
I love it way too much. That's my real question for you. Who's your go-to on Super Smash?
Kirby.
That I got you in the bag.
You can't beat me when I'm Kirby. But
I
anyway,
sure can.
Jonathan, what's your favorite character on Super Smash Brothers?
On Smash Brothers, this is gonna. I'm a Byleth guy, honestly. I know a lot of people are against the Fire Emblem stuff, but I am a Byleth guy and a Robin guy.
You know what? To be honest with you, if Jonathan chooses it, I'm just going to let him choose it because I feel like he would kick my butt with that character anyways. I feel like I'm not going to fight him on that one because I feel like he would annihilate me. I'm an Ike girly.
Ooh,
I'm an
Ike's
Ike
good.
girly.
If you want any advice from me, just keep trying to do your best every day. Like keep living to your fullest and just never give up on that.
Well, we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate having you on, Jonathan.
Yes,
Well, thank you for having
so
me.
much.
You're welcome.
And have a good day, everybody.
Oh, you too, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.
I think that was the perfect button for this podcast. Like,
I would agree.
I think so too.
yeah, I can't even say anything after that. Like, drop the mic,
Oh.
Jonathan Gardner. Brittany, thank you so much for being on.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
of course.
You're so
Thank you guys for
fun.
having me.
This was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, like I wish we could talk more all the time because it's like a round table of things. So thank you so much. Thank you, Flutie Foundation, for
Thank
this
you.
podcast.
Yes.
and bringing
We
us
love the
together.
Flutie Foundation.
Woo, woo.
See
Bye,
you next time.
everyone.
Bye.